Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to work on something, the more it falls apart? There's a reason behind that, but it's not actually what you think. Let me explain. You see, before we find out what it actually is, we first have to address what we normally think it is. And it's that we think that if something is not working, we have to just do more of what we're doing now. We have to just apply more effort. We just have to work harder to get the results we want. But unfortunately, that's just a recipe for disaster. Because if what you're doing right now is clearly not working and you're doing more of that, what makes you think adding more volume is going to result to a different outcome? But yet this is what a majority of people are doing today, where they find themselves working on something to become somebody, to achieve something. And when they start to see that there is no results being seen in however amount of time, they automatically result to doing more of what they're doing now, thinking is going to make it better. The one thing that stunts our growth as individuals on the journey to becoming successful is that we expect things to happen right as soon as we start it. So if you start something today and tomorrow you do not see results, you automatically think the thing is not working. The moment you do not see any progress, any result, something desirable to your eyes, you automatically think it's not working. And this is what we do. That literally paralyzes our motion to become more of what we are now, because we're stuck on the desire, stuck on the outcome of how things are going to be, the life I'm going to live, the money I'm going to have, the freedom I'm going to have. We have that picture painted. So as soon as we face an obstacle, we automatically think that if we do more of what we're doing now, it will help us get closer to where we want to get to. If I put in more effort, if I work harder, more on the thing I'm doing, if I keep repeatedly doing the same thing, which is put in more effort, I will intend get that life that I want. I will intend get these certain results. And this is what we do that literally takes us away from our success. If you stop to pay attention for a second, you will see that success or even life in general does not happen like this. It takes time for a seed to become a tree. It takes time for a baby to fully develop. It takes time for a person to grow from being little to an adult. Every single thing takes time. Our whole life is based on a process, becoming. You don't just get out of bed and then there's clothes on your body. There's a process to put the clothes on. So if you understand this, that everything in life takes time, and yet you do not apply that concept to your journey to becoming successful, what you're basically saying is it's not necessary for the thing to take time. It's not necessary for the thing to build up to become what you want it to be. What we like to ignore is the relationship between where you are now to where you want to get to. That middle ground, that vacuum here is called the process. And a lot of us like to just ignore the process. We like to just speed up the process and expect to get desirable results, expect to get good outcomes, but you're not allowing the thing to do what it's supposed to do. Let me give you this analogy. Imagine you go in your backyard and then you plant a seed in the ground, and then you give the seed 12 hours to become a tree. So you take the seed, put it in the soil, and then you leave. 12 hours later, you come back to that same spot. And because the seed is not a tree yet, you literally dig the seed out of the ground and go plant it somewhere else again. And then you wait for another 12 hours and then you come back and the seed is still not a tree. And this whole time you are thinking that if I take the seed out of where it's currently at right now and I put it somewhere better, its chances of growing is way higher. And so you repeat this action over and over again. You take the seed from the soil, you dig it out, and you go plant it somewhere else again, with the intention that you're actually increasing the chances of the seed becoming a tree. But this whole time, you're just stunting the growth of the seed, if not killing its potential. Because there's a necessary part that needs to take place. See, there's something that the soil can do that you cannot do. When you plant a seed, that's all you do from there. The rest is up to the soil. And you never see yourself trying to speed up the soil's process of making this seed become a tree. You never do that. You allow the soil to do what the soil does best. You do nothing and patiently wait that the thing you have done will eventually emerge into something greater than it was before when you started. There is something that the soil can do that you and I cannot do. But unless we wait patiently and do nothing but expect a desirable outcome, we will always find ourselves trying to do the job of the soil. Just like I gave the analogy earlier, where you literally take the seed out of the soil just to go plant it somewhere else, thinking it's increasing the chance of it growing. I believe that the journey to becoming successful is a partnership between you and God. In a partnership, there's designated roles that is being played in order to come together to fulfill a common agenda. You cannot do my role and I cannot do yours, but we all have a crucial part to play. Your part to play in planting that soil was just to plant it, and the soil's part was to grow it. God is the soil and we are just the planter, and our job alone is to plant it in hopes and expectation that when we have planted the seed, it will grow and flourish to become something greater. Now, as to how long it takes for the soil to make the seed a tree, we do not know. But we do know that its purpose is to make a seed become a tree. And that's where God comes in. We have to be able to master the art. I call it the art. We have to be able to master the art of doing nothing, doing our part and just stepping back and allowing God to do what he does best. The moment we try to step in and try to take the place of God, we start to mess things up. In the Bible, God says, my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours. There is a reason why you're just the planter and God is the grower. Because there's a certain ability it takes to make that seed become a tree that you do not have. And you have to be able to bring yourself to that understanding, or you are going to mistake movement for progress. The fact that you're doing more of something does not mean you're getting an outcome. The fact that you're taking the seed out of the soil and planting it somewhere else, thinking that it's going to make it better, does not mean it's actually going to make it better. And so we have to get comfortable with doing nothing. Literally just allowing everything to fall in place, just like how it's supposed to. If you try to rush the process, you're just going to mess everything up. There is a right time and procedure for everything. There is a proper time and there is a proper procedure for everything. The moment you take away from that proper time, the moment you take away from that proper procedure and try to involve yourself in trying to make everything align how you want it to be, you are automatically just going to throw away your progress, even the dream to becoming something better than you are now, because you're not understanding that this is a partnership between you and God. And there's things that you can do and there's things that God can do. God is not going to do your part and you cannot do his. You most definitely cannot do God's part. So it's in your best interest to be able to wait patiently, doing nothing, and allowing God to do everything else that is left. Trust that the thing you are doing is going to work. Don't think that because you're not seeing any progress right now, that means the thing is just dead and gone. There's no meaning to it. Normally, when you do not hear anything, that's when a lot of stuff is going on behind the scenes. A seed is planted, but a seed does not sprout out of the ground unless it has built a solid foundation with its roots deep into the ground. That and only that is how a seed will be able to emerge out of the ground. Right now, you are that seed and you are in the soil. And in the soil is dark. In the ground, it feels like you're alone and nothing is working. It feels like you're stuck and there's no progress. But you have to understand that in that moment, in that point in time in your life, that is when you're growing the most. Because there is no emerging if there is no foundation. There has to be a solid foundation built in the soil, in the ground. So when it's time for you to stand, you can stand on your 10 toes without having to fall, without having to not have a good understanding of where you're at and what it took for you to get here. Allow God to grow you. Allow God to make your seed become a tree, to work his work in your life. Because God makes everything beautiful in his time. If you read Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11, it tells you God makes everything beautiful in its time. There is a reason why that is in the Bible. Because if something is not in its time, it is premature. If something is not in its time, it is not ready. If something is not in its time, it is not built to withstand the conditions that it's about to face. But because God loves you so much, he makes everything in your life beautiful in its time. That means when you do not have the results you want now, when you do not see that progress you want now, it does not mean you're not going to get it. It's just not time yet. You have to allow God to take over from where you left off. You planted a seed, now let God grow it. Let God nurture it. Let God take care of it. Let him make it to become what he destined it to be. And stop trying to do God's work. Stop trying to do God's part. You're not meant to do that. You're meant to just do yours and do nothing else. But wait patiently. Like, master the art of doing nothing after you've done everything. Because that everything is on your end. Now God has to do his thing. But if you trying to get in the way of God doing this part by you doing everything, and then after you wait for a short amount of time because you don't see no progress, like, God, you know what? I'm just going to give you a head start on your work. I'm going to do a little bit of what you want to do. And then when I think it's good, I'm going to have you step in and you can take care of that. It don't work like that, dude. My ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. Just like how the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours. See, there's something that you do not know that God knows. And if you do not allow God to exercise his sovereignty, his God-likeness, his creativity in your life and work things how they're supposed to work, you will find yourself taken away from what's actually yours. And at the end of the day, you'll be left with nothing but regret, pain, anger, frustration, and questions. But if you just wait and let God work it all in you, if you just sit there and do nothing after you've done everything and let God do his part, work in you, you start to see everything unfold. There's actually peace in this. I learned this the hard way, where I was working to achieve something in my life. And because I didn't see any progress when I thought I should see progress, you know, we all have that point in our life where we think, okay, we do this now. When we get here, we should start to see progress. And when we actually start the thing to see no progress, we actually think that it's just not going to work. I was at that point in my life. I remember this so vividly. I was at that point in my life where I thought that I was going to get the results I wanted right when I thought I was going to get them. And obviously, I was brutally disappointed because I didn't get it. And it broke me. And the more and more I give it time in my head for it to work, you see, we can think that we're giving something time. But in all honesty, we're just trying to speed it up by doing more and then acting like we're just giving it time. I was doing my best to give it time for it to work. But this whole time, I was just adding on to the length it is going to take for me to get the thing I wanted. But I learned and I realized that it took me a while to really understand. Even though I knew applying knowledge, knowing something and applying something are two completely different things. I knew that my journey to becoming successful was a partnership between me and God. But I did not apply that principle. I did not apply that concept to my life, where when I saw that things were not working, I could just patiently wait and do nothing because I know I have done my part according to the word of God, right? All work works. So I applied that. I started doing what I had to do and I just finished and let God do his part. But I never really did that because the more and more I saw that I was not getting the results I wanted, the more frustrated I got and the more I thought I had to just keep doing more of what I was doing right now and it was going to give me the results. But it was just not doing that. It was just taking me further and further away from what I wanted. But when I made peace and got the understanding and actually started to apply it, wisdom is the application of truth. When I actually start to apply the wisdom of the truth that I knew, everything started to fall in place. I started to feel more at peace. I started to see the results that I wanted to see. I started to see life literally unfold before my eyes, literally, where everything that I wanted was coming to pass. Even though some things are still taking time, I understand that the process is necessary. I understand that in this period, it's something that is working that I may not see, but is very, very important for me to get the life that I want. And if I'll just trust that God will do his part and put it all together because we are partners, I will get the life that I want. You have to master the art of doing nothing. You have to master the art of trusting and believing and waiting patiently that God will do everything that he said he's going to do in your life. If you would do that, if you would take the time not only to know what God says, but to apply it. Wisdom is the application of truth. The truth that you already know, applying it is where the difference is being made. If you can take the time to apply what God says, and you may be afraid, you may be scared, you may still have fear in you and doubts and worry, but let me ask you, how long are you going to keep feeding energy to that? How long are you going to keep feeding energy into doubt and lies and fear that the devil brings your way just to throw you off? You know the truth, but yet you try to feed into the lie. Why do you not feed into the truth? There is no way around it. It's either you feed into the truth or you keep feeding into the lie. We try to find a middle ground. We try to compensate and just victimize ourselves and just feel the fear. Oh my God, I feel so much fear. Like it's so hard and I don't know what to do. But then God got me. Like we try to play. You cannot serve both masters. It's either you trust in the truth and apply the truth, or you give your energy to the lie and to the fear. It's your decision. And you have to make that immediately in order for you to start to see results in your life. Because results don't happen with God if you do not allow God to do his thing. If you're always trying to step in and play big dog, yeah, it's not going to work. Because you're not a big dog. God is the big dog, and you have to allow God to do his part. When he does his part, everything will look beautiful in its time. Trust that. Believe that. Master the art of doing nothing and allow God to do everything. And your life will fall in pleasant places. Remember, do not live a life by default, while you can always live one by design. Live life.